So in the last videos, we talked about the traditional way, the old way of organizing and storing data and information using the file-based system. And then we said that there are some disadvantages, and the right approach is using a database approach, using a database management system. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what it is. What does it mean when we talk about database and database management system? So when I say what is a database, well, a database is basically a place for you to store data, but you want to store this data in an organized, shared manner. So you want to store it in an organized way so that when you need access to it, you can find it in an organized manner. It's shared, so more than one person can access this data in the database in a way that will not affect its data integrity. So you can view it, you can think of a database, like I said, as just a big container, a repository of data that's defined once, and then it's accessed by various users. So you put your data in it one time at the beginning, and then it can be accessed many times by various users. So it supports concurrent users. Now, databases come in many sizes and complexities. You can create a database of your collection of books and movies and electronic devices at home. You might be storing information about, like, when did you purchase them, how much they were, is there any warranty associated with your devices, when does the warranty expire, the phone number of the company that you need to contact in case you need warranty help, support. So you might have a database of all your electronic devices and your equipment at home, like your fridge and your stove. Companies also might have databases, but their databases are probably more complex than your database at home of your just personal belongings. Now, when we talk about databases, data is going to be stored in this database in terms of little pieces. And so what we want to do when we go and we collect information about real world aspects, like a person or a class or a bank account, I need to collect information in data elements. So when we're collecting information, when you go and say, I tell you, get me information about this professor, you're probably going to write a list of bullet points. What is their name? What is their major? What is their rank? Where do they work? When did they start working? What projects are they working on? So every piece of information, every fact that you are collecting is called a data element. So when you're collecting data, you are collecting specific facts. Each fact is called a data element. When we talk about a database, if you think about MCC, for example, MCC is responsible for maintaining information about many entities. MCC is responsible for maintaining information about the students that go there, and including the students that graduated, the faculty that work, the courses that they have offered, the rooms, every room, what is the inventory in the room, what is the maximum number of students that can fit in this room. So just an organization like MCC might have different information that is stored about different entities. When we talk about a database, it is logical, coherent, and internally consistent. Logical, it makes sense. Coherent, everything fits together in the right way, and it's consistent. You can't have a faculty listed in a table, and then, for example, or a course that's listed being offered in room 100, but you don't have room 100 in your rooms table. So internally, their tables have to be consistent. It is designed, built, and populated with data for a specific purpose. So when you're doing building a database or you're designing a database, you have to know the purpose of this database. I can't just tell you, create me a database of faculty. Well, you need to know, what is it that I want to store about the faculty? What are some of the things that I want to query and ask and search for about faculty? So when you're designing a database, we're going to have to know specific information about the purpose of this database and who is going to be using it. And we're going to, go into that when the time comes to actually designing the databases. Every data element, every data item, every fact is stored in its own field. And this is important for, if you just store a person's name and address and phone number in just one data element. What if I want to sort this information by address, by city? I want to find all the people that live in Manchester, for example. So when you're storing, you want to break up the information into small facts so that you can sort by phone number, you can sort by last name, you can sort by city someone lives in. So every data element, every fact is stored in their own field. So here, if you look at this database picture, it consists of different tables. So every table will be responsible for storing information about some group of entities. So maybe table of students, and a table of faculty, and a table of rooms. And then for every entity, like let's say table, I'm storing about a student, their first name, their last name, their major, their city, their, that information. So every piece of fact, we call that a data element. And so a combination of data elements are stored in a table. And so, like I said, a database might contain tables for a table for students, a table for courses, a table for program majors, a table for faculty. And if you think about any organization or like MCC, we have a lot of tables that we need to store. So this is what a database is, a place for you to store data in an organized manner. Now, what is a database management system? Well, it's a collection of programs in addition to the database that you have. So you have a database that stores the information. In addition to this database, you have a bunch of programs. You have a collection of programs that allows the user to create and maintain this database and control access to them. So imagine like the database is kind of like a bag or a filing cabinet that you have at home, and you have like a shelf for your faculty and a shelf for your staff and a shelf for your courses. Now you need a way to maintain this. So how are you going to store the information? How are you going to make sure that the information you're storing is accurate? How are you going to make sure that I don't store a student with no name, for example? How am I going to make sure that different people, different users, when they access the system, no two people are updating the same record or the same person in different ways? Like someone is saying, oh, his major is computer science, but someone else is changing it to computer networking. How do you prevent concurrent users from accessing the same piece of data or updating the same piece of data? So you have a database and you have a bunch of programs that help you work with this database. For example, also creating and maintaining, like inserting information. You want a user-friendly way of inserting information into this database. So that is what a database management system provides you. Provides you a database with all the features around it that help you maintain this database and make sure that people don't access it who are not supposed to be accessing it. And so the main goal of a database management system is to provide an environment that is both convenient and efficient for users to retrieve and store information. So there is a bunch of database management systems out there that you might have heard of. So we're going to be using Oracle in this course, but there's others like MySQL, Postgres, Access, Microsoft SQL Server. And the nice thing is the concepts that we're learning in this class apply to all of these databases. So once you learn the concept of a table and how do I create a table and how do I think of what columns I need to be storing in this database, you can apply this logic to any of these database management systems. Now, we're going to also be learning about SQL, which is the language that we're going to use to talk to this database. SQL is a language that can be used with any of these databases out here. There might be small syntax differences between these databases. So some database might say, oh, you need to add this to this line, or, small differences, and that's okay. Every company has the, does that, adds a little bit of flavor to the language sometimes. But for the most part, what you learn in this class can be applied and used in any of the database management systems that are out there. So in the next video, we'll talk more about the characteristics and benefits of a database.